from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 987. I'm joined by a really special guest. His name is Tamba Hali. He's a former Penn State, Kansas City Chiefs linebacker. He was born in Bonga, Liberia. He's from Teaneck, New Jersey. He's representing New Jersey strong and his country strong. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and on all the podcast platforms and Anchor. So fans, please tune in. You can ask questions on our Spreaker app to Tamba Hali. And not only he's a former football player, but now he makes music. Go check out his music. It's amazing. And on Twitter, I follow African Promotions, and they just put your list out of music, and you're number 9 on the list. So congrats on that with your music. And we're going to talk about, obviously, we're going to talk about your music, your inspiring story. So fans, please tune in. This will be a good one. Ask questions to him also on the Spreaker app. But Tamba Hali, thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. How are you and your family doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. School's going on. The kids already went to school. My wife got the other 2 boys in the park, right? I get to be, on the piano and in the studio, just doing what I enjoy doing.
Yeah. So let's start off with your childhood, because it's really inspiring. Obviously, NFL Africa did a story on you recently here. So tell our fans. I'm going to give you the floor here. This is your show. This show is about you. So tell our fans about your childhood growing up, and obviously it was a tough one, but you were able to get through it, and obviously you turned yourself into one of the best football players I've ever seen, in my opinion. So I'm going to give you the floor here. So tell our fans about your childhood growing up.
Liberia right now is West Africa. I grew up there. During the time where war started, there was a civil war for about 17 years. When the war started, I was 6 years old. We spent about 3-4 years going in and out of hiding. And then eventually we escaped and went to the Ivory Coast, the neighboring country, became refugees there. My dad, he's a physics teacher at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Now he just retired from teaching at Teaneck. He back and filed for us to come to the States. So we were able to leave and get here to Teaneck, New Jersey, where I did all my studies at the age of 10, going on 11, 1994. And I was fortunate. I played basketball and football. I excelled in football more than I did basketball. At one point, they consider me the highest ranked recruit in New Jersey. I could go anywhere in the country. I had over 65 different scholarships from playing, just playing football. I'm saying basketball now because all my kids. But so I went to Penn State. I thought it was a great vision. Larry Johnson, senior, who coaches for the defensive line for Ohio State, was there at the time. And he was a huge mentor to me. Joe Paterno, our head coach, obviously, when he is coaching in the college football at the time, playing for him was surreal. I mean, you're playing for a legend who was a pioneer in every decade for over 5 decades of the game. And so I thought that was with a broadcast journalism degree. And then I had an opportunity to get drafted with the Kansas City Chiefs, Lamar Hunt, Clark Hunt, those guys. Lamar obviously created the AFC. I was his last draft pick, and Clark, his son, I was his first draft pick. Oh. So it was special. I spent my entire career here. People helped me when I first got in, like Carl Peterson, the general manager at the time, he facilitated a way for me to get my here. Jack Kemp, the senator for Buffalo at the time, I guess he played in the league. He, God rest his soul, he has passed, but he wrote a letter for my mom to get to the States.
Mhm.
And also Bill Paterno and his family, they were instrumental in helping with my mom coming over. So it was a crazy night on how everything panned out. But I'm blessed to be in this position that I am in right now.
Wow, yeah. So speaking of, tell our fans. Obviously, you went to you were sent to U.S. at age of 10 because of the Civil War, and obviously, it took over a year for you to see your mom again. And how tough was that for you throughout your career, not seeing your mom, but eventually, finally seeing your mom eventually in your career?
It was tough because I grew up around mom, and for 10 years, at least 8 years, 9 years, it was mom, mom, mom. Out for those first 10 years, at least not consistently. And for me to leave and then 14 years without mom and then just dad, it was tough. I mean, at times the war would stop and then it would continue. At time we heard she got shot in her knee. Um, at times I would just wake up like, oh man, I know my mom is just gonna die. She's just, let me just get the news she's gonna be dead. So it was tough. But God is great. The way it's worked out for me, it's been, it's sometimes I'm speechless. I look at my life at it, and I don't know how to really, I just give him the praises all the time because I don't know how, I don't know why,
Yeah.
why. What's the purpose behind all of this? But I know again, it's to glorify our Father who's in heaven.
Yeah, so before we go any further, I just want to send. I forgot to say this, and I want to send my prayers and thoughts to all the people in Ukraine right now, what they're going through. So I want to send prayers to them, and we stand by them, and hopefully it gets better over there pretty soon. And but I just want to send prayers there. But for you, we already have a fan question that just came in. They want to know, how has music helped you after your career? Because music helps a lot of athletes, even if they're still playing, and music is a big thing in sports. Music and sports go together. So for you, how they want to know, how has music helped you in a big way?
It's given me a structure because it's really tough. I've always done music prior to football, and then during football I did it. I didn't do it commercially, but I always was working on the craft. But it's given me a structure afterwards and to allow me to do something that I love doing, and that's pretty hard for us guys who's been so um, fixated with sports or whatever we were doing prior to make the adjustment into the real world. It's very hard for us. It was hard for me, but it's given me a direction, a structure, so I can be able to have something going and not just be dormant. Because most of the time, people can waste when they leave the league.
Yeah. So what was it like playing in Teaneck, New Jersey high school? That's a great high school up north, and high school football in Jersey is really competitive here in South and North too. But for you, what was it like representing New Jersey in Teaneck?
Oh, big. Football, we're such a small state, but football is a big thing in New Jersey. And playing, I play in the toughest league in New Jersey. It's the NNJIL. So we're going to see 2 to 3 parochial schools. These guys are all recruited to go play for St. Joseph, Don Bosco.
Yeah.
So playing for Teaneck, it's a highlight that when I played there, we actually beat Bergen Catholic for the first time, in school history. And I had some other great players while there, but representing Teaneck, representing Jersey in the league, even being at Penn State, it was such a big thing because we're not a big state, but we great players in the National Football League.
Yeah, and also there you were named to the All-American while you were at high school, and also you lettered in basketball and you were considered a 5-star, 4-star recruit by people there. So what was it like being recognized as an All-American and considered as a 4-star recruit?
It didn't dawn on me at the time. I just kept working, but looking back, it's a big thing. A lot of coaches, a lot of fans, a lot of media people was watching. I wasn't aware about.
Yeah.
Felt this way. This is how they felt, and they thought this is what we believed this kid was at that time in such an early stage of my career. And then to go to Penn State and be able to again achieve something similar, big deal. When I'm sitting back looking at it, it has to be a big deal. But at the time, I couldn't tell you the difference.
Yeah, so we have another fan question here. They want to know who are some of the linebackers that you looked up to while you were younger.
I didn't grow up on football.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing and John Starks. Big Knicks fan growing up. But the first time a trip to Penn State and I saw LeVar Arrington and Brown, and I watched those guys play. I think from that day, the time I saw how they played, I wanted to mimic that. But as time went on, it was I think the best pass rusher. I want to say in top 3, Dwight Freeney, because he ran a 4.3. I can't even run that fast. But then he was an innovator. He created his own way to get to the passer, which was the spin move. So Dwight, again, if anyone that I looked up to or wanted to be like, would have been Dwight Freeney.
Well, yeah. So speaking of Penn State, actually we had a couple of Penn State alums. We had Andre Collins on the show 2 years ago, and we also had Jay Paterno on the show this year. But what was it like being at Penn State? The atmosphere there is amazing. Obviously, you played underneath Joe Paterno, the late Joe Paterno. But what was it like playing for Penn State in front of those fans?
It's different. It's nothing like I've ever experienced. Obviously, Kansas City does come close because it's the loudest stadium. But having 110,000 people, it's nothing. It's nothing like it. And then everyone is all white.
Yeah.
Being around the staff that Coach Paterno assembled at the time, Jay Paterno was Coach Johnson, Vandy. I'm trying to remember everyone, but it was like a family atmosphere. I mean, everyone was just, we all go by first name. We didn't never say, "Oh, Mr. Johnson," or, we called him Coach Johnson out of respect, but we call him Jay. We call Joe. Everyone name, and he has a little rules. Don't curse at the players, and then always be on time, and it's just little rules. And if you follow those little rules, it worked out for you. And it was just like a family atmosphere. The times I was there, when I was there, we had some of the worst seasons, and it was some of the hardest times I've ever gone through as far as a player, trying culture and coach area at the time. He just put us to work. He fired the seniors who wasn't too serious about football, had them graduate and get out of there. And so paying for a scrap, Tom Bradley, call him Scrap.
Yeah.
I mean, just playing for those guys, it was different. Every individual, they kind of took heed to it. No one was like, standing on the fence trying to figure out what was happening. So involved, and that's what I remember about Penn State.
Yeah. So speaking of adjustment period, going to the U.S. and so for you, I'm just curious for you when you moved to the U.S. at the age of 10, how long did it take you to adjust to a different country? And what do you say that helped you along the way when you chose your college from high school?
Coming to a new country, everything is upscale. Everything is on a whole nother level because I'm coming from a third world.
Yeah.
So everything is on another level. And one thing my dad dad said, nothing's free,
Yeah.
that's, that's the one that stuck with me throughout my life. He always had to tell us, nothing's free here. You got to work for it. Um, I'll say it took maybe 2 to 3 years for us to kind of start to figure it out, because the culture is different, and it's a mud. You got different ethnic groups. You got the African people, you got the African American people, you have you know, Italians, the Irish, you got the Indians, you got the Chinese. So we're all here,
Yeah.
and you have to find a way to be able to relate to certain people. Everyone is not the same. If you're from Liberia, obviously this is how the Liberians are.
Right.
This is not the U.S. is the opposite. Everyone has to kind of find a way to fit in where they fit in, and we all adapt to the culture that's here. So it took maybe years where I started to figure it out. And my first day in school, I'm in a fight with the same guy who kind of helped me learn how to read.
Oh, wow.
So that's crazy. And then go ahead.
Wait, I thought you were gonna say something else. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So speaking of being a football player, obviously being from Bonga, Liberia. So what's it like now representing a country there, being a former football player and seeing kids look up to you now from that country, and being able to give them some advice and help them along the way, those kids in Liberia.
Um, the crazy thing is, being the people from Liberia did not know me until I started to do music.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They're not in tune with what's happening. Maybe now they are because of social media and how technology have increased, but they wasn't in tune with who I was. On 2015, I think, was the first time I went back. So people do look up to me, but because I do music, the music scene, it's not the same as football. Music scene is a lot of bad people. Sports, a bunch of good people. So the people who are watching from the music side doesn't really appreciate the person that's coming. But the sports side, they of our guys who were able to go and make a difference in that country. So anytime I go back, if I can get a chance to speak to people, it's always good for me. I'm sure people look up to me, but again, don't ever look up to people.
Yeah.
Treat everyone the same, and you'll be fine. So that's more of the story that I would want to preach to people, because there's nothing so perfect about me. This what I'm going through is the same thing most people are going through. It's just on different levels.
Yeah. So one of our fans want to know, what would you say are some of your best moments at Penn State as a football player, and some of the best games you ever had at Penn State?
My senior year, I want to say that we had such a magical year. One of the best games we played was we played Northwestern, and I mean it's 4th and 15.
Oh.
Robinson doesn't complete this pass to Isaac Smoko. We probably don't go down to be what it is, and he does. We get the first down, and then Wills go in and score so that moment it's always gonna stick with me. It's not a highlight. Obviously playing Ohio, trying to back to win the game, having the opportunity to sack Troy Smith, and the entire country gets to see that, because that was the night game. That was a highlight of my career.
Wow.
And then last game in Beaver Stadium, I had like 4 sacks. Never play in that stadium again. So I just stay and just try to enjoy myself. So those memories always sticks with me.
And our other fan wants to know, he's taking it back to high school. What was it like? They want to know what was it like playing underneath the Friday night lights on Friday nights.
Coach Heck, of course. I mean, nothing like Coach Heck, because Coach Heck, again, he was the guy who brought me in front of this whole football thing. Yeah, for some reason we played on Saturday nights.
Wow.
We didn't play Friday. We played Saturday. Yeah, so I was going off. It was like the last game going off in the state every year, every week. So it was a big thing for me. When we got to college. Hey, come on.
Hello.
Thanks. I'm on the interview. Sorry. Go to mom.
The kid. Hey, we don't mind having kids here.
It just came from out. This is Torpedo, the youngest guy. He's too bold. Yeah, when I got to college, we played noon games. I wasn't used to that. I was used to the night games. I was it was a big deal. Saturday nights we played Saturday nights, and then on Thanksgiving we played at. Sorry, on the call.
So on Thanksgiving you play. What were you? I couldn't hear that. You said Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving we play our rivalry team, Hackensack. A.M. everything.
Wow.
Yeah, in the morning. Big deal. High school football, T-neck football, it was a big deal when we were there. I'm pretty sure it's gonna, come back again.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, why? How come you guys didn't play Friday nights and then Saturday nights?
I don't know. I think that's just how my coach Dennis Heck was a big deal in the state.
Wow.
I don't know how after that, but all of our games was Saturday nights. It's the home games. Away games, like when we go play away, we may play Friday. Maybe Saturday. We'll play Saturday in the daytime. When we go at home, it was always at night, Saturday.
Yeah, so speaking, I want to go back to Penn State because they have a lot of great tradition there at Penn State. Obviously, the blue white jerseys, the blue white helmets. And what was it like wearing the blue white jerseys and helmets, and also wearing the same uniform? The player that you looked up to, LeVar Harrington.
It's huge because again, we didn't have like individual identities. We didn't, you didn't see Hali on the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
Always again solid. It was the black shoes, and it was tradition. It was something that's been going on for a long time. And it made you feel special, James. I'm not joking. It made you feel special, because you were part of something bigger. It wasn't just about you. So you had to come in and kind of contribute to a bigger cause. So yeah, it was a huge tradition, and anyone that's coming to Penn State understands that it's not an individual thing. You go out there and you play for your family.
I think we're looking at the next NFL star or NBA star right there in the background with James.
James, 4 boys and 1 girl. The girl's almost 11 years old, so she's a basketball player. So yeah, I hope these guys, go ahead and carry the torch.
Wow, that's amazing. And so for you though, tell our fans about your draft experience. You got drafted in round 1, pick 20 by the Kansas City Chiefs, a great organization. Great front office. The Hunt family is amazing, and also you got to spend your whole career with them, which is rare now in the NFL. But so for you, take us back to the draft call, being with your family, and then finally, how relieved were you once you heard your name and going through what you went through as a child and getting to where you wanted it to be, which is the NFL?
When it came to the draft experience, I knew I had put all my ducks in order. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest. But as far as playing the game, I was relentless about what I wanted to get done. Kansas City Chiefs, Carl Peterson, and at the time, Herm Edwards. I was a huge fan of it. He was with the Jets. He just became the head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he and Carl and Herm were the only two duos like GM and head coach to actually come my pro day.
Oh,
Most
wow.
of people that came general manager. So I kind of had an insight that I may be going to Kansas City. Another place that I thought I would end up was either Miami or the Eagles, because I think Andy Reid was very fond of. He ended up drafting Bunkley from. They had the 12th pick, but when I got to Kansas City, it was again. It's just like a family.
Yeah.
I'm around, nice organizations where the way they conduct their business is not like other places. And I can't speak for other places, but from what I hear, sometimes it isn't like the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they bring you in, and if you job and you understand what your job is to be done there, they treat you like a family. Clark always comes. He knows everyone. He advises you not to call him Mr. Hunt.
Hmm.
Just like Joe Paterno. There's no.
Yeah.
So Clark is the same thing. He said calls me Clark. The entire family comes down because it's Clark, it's Daniel, it's Sharon, and then it's Lamar's Jr.
Yeah.
So the children come down, they interact with the players. I think everyone does around the league, but Clark, that's how he does it. And his wife is there, all their wives are there, and they're fond of the players. They even send cards to the players, during holiday seasons. So my entire time at the Chiefs, we had different coaches, but for some reason, Clark and his family, they were able to favor me to be around for the time I was. So, I owe them, I owe them everything. Clark actually petitioned for me to be part of their ambassador right now. I'm the youngest chief ambassador.
Oh, wow.
It's a very unique situation that I find myself in the city. But again, I'm very, humble and thankful that I'm able to go through this experience.
Yeah. What we have before we go further, we have another fan question. They want to know what was your sack celebration whenever you got sacks?
Tamba Hawk,
Yeah.
come
Nice, nice. Yeah. So for you, obviously the rookie season was 2006 for the Chiefs, but looking throughout your career, man, what was it like just putting that red jersey, the white, and the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium is one of the toughest places to play in as an opposing team, and the fans bring it every game, especially during playoff time. But for you, what was it like just being part of that and being part of something special? And you had some pretty good, great defenses throughout your career there too.
it's a special thing. If I should speak, guys that's there, they shouldn't take it for granted. This thing doesn't really last. I used to think I could play forever. I had one of those motors that this can go. But it doesn't last forever. And the moment you have with those people that you're surrounded by, take advantage of it. Spend more time uh, about your craft. But playing for the Chiefs it's a prestigious thing. It's a small group of people that get to experience it. I know people who play for the Chiefs and they probably did 1 or 2 years and they want to be so involved, first because they see that this is not just a regular gig. Like these people, this thing goes beyond football. And Chiefs, I mean, our defenses that we had was ruthless. I wish we got I played with Mahomes for one game,
Yeah.
so I wish we had a chance to play with Mahomes. We would have caused too much in the league. But I enjoyed my career with the Chiefs, and I'm thankful that I was highly favored by the Kansas City Chiefs fans, obviously they loved me here and they wanted me to be here my whole career. And, I've been able to be.
Yeah. So speaking, yeah, speaking of the Chiefs, I was able to. We had Pat Mahomes Sr. on the show. Pat Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' father, and it was an honor talking to him. Talking about his son. It was before the playoffs this year, actually, before the playoffs started. So for you, did you ever think maybe you could have played one more season during that Super Bowl run they had when they won the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I retired early. I mean, I stopped playing the game at the age of 33. I could have played till I was 35, 36. But I was kind of drained. I put a lot into the game, and year in, year out, and the organization obviously was going in the direction. And when you have a new coach, he usually wants to bring all his guys in so they can get the job done. Because Gruden always get the kickback that he inherited team or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's why they love to bring all their own guys in to get the job done. And they had drafted a really good player at the time, D Ford, and they wanted him to play. Yet I was still competing at a high level, so they had to, because it's almost like, what are we going to keep this guy on the bench? Tamba can still play, but D is not ready, but he has to play. We're paying him. And I wasn't being a backup player either. That's not something I was, you can say I'm selfish for it, but I feel like I work for it. And in a sense, I may be rambling on right now, but yeah, I mean, I could have played a couple more years if I wanted to. I could have went somewhere else and played. But again, what Chiefs had done for me and what they are still doing for me today, it's not worth going and trying to reestablish yourself because of numbers, chasing, those things. Again, I don't think they're awarded that way. I think what you do on the field, so long as it's there, if it's supposed to come, it will come.
I mean, you deserve to be in the Chiefs Hall of Fame and Chiefs Ring of Honor, in my opinion.
And by the grace of God, hopefully we'll get all of those things that is there. It takes time. Everything has time. There's other guys that came before me that deserves it more than I do. So it's not something that I'm, hoping and wishing for. I think whenever it happens, it will happen.
Yeah. So before we get to Herm Evers, because we have a fan question, they want to know about Herm Evers. But before we get to that, I want to get to your 2006 defense. That defense had you, Kawika Mitchell. You had Jared Allen. Oh my God. You had Ty Law. You had Patrick Surtain, Sammy Knight. Man, I can go down. That defense was crazy. So what was it like being part of that? And you didn't have to be the star that year. You had other talent surrounding you on that defense.
It's always a good thing when you can get to a team where the team is already established. You can just add to the puzzle. Yeah, I enjoyed playing with the veteran groups because all I had was questions for all of them. I hung out with all those guys, and I'll always have questions for Pat. I'll always have questions for Ty Law. I mean, I had questions for Jared Allen. Eric Hicks, they came in when I came in. I had to take his position. I still had to get along with Eric. That's just part of the business. It happens to all of us. I still had to have the fact that I had those guys. It really helped me because a year or two later, they all left, and now I'm like one of the the veterans on the team. So it's good to have those guys and play with them. Obviously, we lost to the Super Bowl champs, which was those guys, but that's okay, right?
I mean, I also forgot Derek Johnson was on the defense. That's a heck of a player right there.
DJ is the best linebacker ever to come through the Chiefs. I mean, it's hands down. Let's call it what it is. He doesn't get the recognition because our market hasn't been as big as it's today. But DJ, apart from Derek Thomas, the sack master, DJ PJ is the best linebacker we can talk about in the Chiefs' history.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you come second, in my opinion.
Where man, I'm happy to. I'm just happy I come I'm there somewhere.
Yeah, so our fan wants to know about Herm Edwards. So what was it like playing underneath Herm Edwards? He brings that swagger to that team as a coach. Obviously, now he's coaching Arizona State. But for you, what did you learn from him as a coach?
I love Herm. Herm was a player's coach. He played as a play. He was one of those guys that wasn't drafted, and he was able to get about 12 to 13 years out of the league, and he became a coach. So he understands the game and what it is that needs to be done. He knows what the players are going. He demanded what he wanted, and then he has such a character. So you wasn't going to be uptight too long. Herm was just one of those people that you love to play for. And for me, I mean, I wish he would have stayed longer. But again, it's a business and I understand it. But I love Herm. Herm was just, and he knew how to draft. To be honest with you, he and he and Carl Peterson brought in some of, when Andy came. When Andy came, he was playing with most of Herm and Carl Peterson drafts. You had Jamal Charles, you had Brandon, you had Dwayne Bowe. Wow. I mean, we had really good players on the team from that draft, from their drafts.
Yeah, offense and defense, no matter what, the Chiefs were loaded on both sides of the ball. Even now, they're still loaded on both sides of the ball. But for you, I want to ask you about your 2017 season. How funny is it, Andy Reid being introduced to you when he was with the Eagles from the draft, and it comes full circle. Now he's the coach for the Chiefs, and you got to play underneath Andy Reid for a little bit. So, how funny was that when Andy Reid came into the team?
I used to joke with him about it. I said, "Why you didn't?" You was right there in Pennsylvania. You said you liked me because I met Coach at the combine, and when you're in the combine, he puts a candy right in when you get the big bowl of candy, sit in there. He really doesn't ask questions. He kind of lets you do all the talking and he asks you a question and he looks you in the eye. And Coach is like a genius, like a guru. So this is not no ordinary guy, wow. Being around, he's not joking with you when he's on the field. You know what I mean? He's so straight up what he wants to do, but then he understands the players too. He anything the players want, he wants. I mean, he gives you everything you want, but when it comes down to it, you got to give up what what you're supposed to be doing. You got to get it done. Coaches, yeah, I love Coach. I always say, Coach, if I ever become a coach, I want to be just like you because I don't know how you do it. I mean, I'm sure he sleeps at that stadium, and his preparation and mindset will be down, not waver at all. He'll come and say, "What are you guys? What are you looking like that? Let's go." He still have the confidence that you can win the game, and he have that until he came around because we were so used to once the other team take the lead, oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Broke all of the molds in us. So I love playing for Coach Reid. It taught me a lot of lessons. It taught me how to have less ego, because has to knock that out of you. Like, no, it's an anomaly. You're a good player, but it's about Super Bowl. It's about the big things, that you can get 20 sacks in a season. We don't go to the Super Bowl. It means so all of those things I had to learn and realize, like, wow, Coach is here to take care of us. And when he needs us, use us the way it's crazy. He's a whole the football.
Wow, the one thing about your career is you got to learn from some of the great coaches like Joe Paterno. You got to learn from Andy Reid, Herm Edwards. Those are three great, three goats in my opinion when it comes to coaching.
Yeah, I've been blessed, man. I've been really blessed to be around some really great men that's done this thing for a long time in all facets. Just the way they go about their work, their business, their family life, everything, and how to be a professional. I mean, I've been really, really fortunate that I've crossed those paths. So yeah, I think it will help me moving forward in anything I choose to do.
Yeah, so that 2017 defense is loaded too. You had Chris Jones. You played with Justin Houston. He came in. Derek Johnson was still there. Terrence Mitchell, Marcus Peters, Ron Parker. Man, so I want to ask you about the three linebacker. How did that all work out for you with Justin Houston and Derek Johnson? And obviously, sacrifice is a big thing. So for you, I consider that a big three right there with you, Justin Houston, and Derek Johnson.
Yeah, at one point we were going to the Pro Bowl every year, all three
Yeah.
of us. We just knew that, if two out of the three don't play good in a game, it would be hard for us to win games.
Yeah.
So, like every year we had to be hardest working guys on the team. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, we had something. It's hard to find it. We had something special. Our guys will always go out on Thursday, eat dinner at some fancy restaurant in the city. Knock out some of the nervousness of the game coming, and then we'll come just enjoy the game on a Sunday wherever we had to play, and just it was fun. We just knew what we had, and we can't forget the coach that we had. We had Eric Gibbs, Oklahoma guy. He was one of the best coaches I've ever played for. He doesn't care about your feelings. What have you done for me lately?
Wow.
So, and smart. Yeah, because he understood, like, you're going to be in your feelings. If I tell you the truth, you're not going to like it. But the reality is, I'm what's best for you. So long someone's here to tell you that you know the truth, you'll be a better player. Some coaches will blow smoke up your rear, and you think you're the man. That's not what Gary was about. Gary was a straight guy, like a military guy that would tell you how it should be. And whether you like it or not, that's just how it's going to be. And so I love Gary Gibbs for that. And he helped us, just dominate. We had at one point, I don't know how many Pro Bowlers. We had because, Eric Berry.
Yeah. Eric. Mm-hmm.
Then you had Don Terry Poe.
Yeah.
And then you had, at one point, had Brendan Flowers, but he wasn't there. Then we had Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every part of the defense had that had a captain that you needed to, Yeah, so I mean, I miss those days, man, because it was something special we had. It's hard to find in the league these days.
Yeah, so speaking of two inspiring stories, you got to play with two of them, Alex Smith and Eric Berry. Both of them overcame a lot. Alex Smith obviously had the horrific injury, coming back strong the next year, playing great with the Washington football team, now Washington Commanders. And then now Eric Berry overcoming cancer. And so for you, what was it like playing with those two teammates, and what did you learn from both of them?
Starting with Alex. Alex was a born leader, just not a leader. He didn't have to talk too much, but when he spoke, we all listened. And whatever the job was for him to get done, he was able to do it. People always say, "Oh, Alex wasn't this. Alex, he just could manage the game." It's not true. Alex can go in there and win games if that was the case. So I saw a different person, a different player, and I knew he was cut for the job. What he went through obviously tells you how strong-minded these guys are. Eric Berry, it was something we didn't expect. I remember in the game, we're playing Eric. It's first. I remember being at the Pro Bowl and watching Eric take off, and the lightning going from one end to the other. I'm like, ooh, these guys are. I mean, just speed. So I remember being the Raiders, and someone caught the ball and Eric could not catch him, and I was like, something's wrong. But I didn't attribute it to cancer. And then I think a few days later we get the news, he's gonna be out or something like that, and it's cancer. And he was able to beat it. Just wasn't a team when he came back, but the kind of mind it takes, that goes through to be able to overcome those things. It says a lot about the character. And So you have two natural born leaders that had to go through some kind of suffering, kind of away from football in a sense. One is away from football, and Alex obviously is football related, but they had to get away from football and still use this same mentality to overcome the circumstance. And yeah, I mean, those guys, again, it will never be the same just because what we had was special there in Kansas City. We had some real good people around one another.
Yeah, so one of our fans want to know, what was your guys' hype music after you guys won the games or in the locker room?
I can't, to be honest with you, throughout the year it changed. At first, we couldn't play music out loud, and then you had to put your headphones in. It was really cool. But we had to talk to Andy about that and say, hey, coach, we need, so Dwayne Bull was really in charge of music at one point because, that's when the Atlanta scene was coming to Migos. Yeah. And so it can go either way. We'll play different songs people like. Lil Wayne obviously was huge at one point, and we played him a lot in the music in the locker room. But yeah, there wasn't no one specific song. I can guarantee there wasn't one song that took us through. It was just guys, doing whatever, time to flex. We had a different locker room. The music would go off and we would start game. Yeah, we everybody mind kind of focused, but we play music. It wasn't the one specific though.
Yeah, and you also got to play with two current Chiefs players still on the team, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Do you think they're the best 1-2 duos as far as offensive weapons in the NFL right now?
Definitely feel this way. I don't think they get enough recognition for it, especially Tyreek. I don't think a lot of people realize that is probably the best wide receiver in the league.
Yep.
Put it hands down and say, yo, Tyreek's been doing this. He got in the league. But people don't want to see it. They just keep thinking, oh, it's his speed. No one can cover Tyreek if that's the case. You need two people. If it's one-on-one, you're not going to succeed. Then to have Travis Kelce, who barely drops the ball, I know he's aging in his career and his knees are starting to wobble a bit, but given a chance that you need to win a game, those two guys, if they're ever on your team, you can win with them. So I do believe they're the best duo that you have in the league. Some people got some guys, some other team guys, got big guys, got tall guys, got guys that can run the route well, but these guys are.
Yeah. So, for you, tell our fans some of you about your best moments as a Kansas City Chiefs or best games you had and the fan base.
I'll say in the beginning of my career as a Chief, when we wasn't really good, I used to enjoy playing the game so much. I think maybe it was against the Denver Broncos at home, and I don't like to boast, but this is one of those games where I showed my guy. I said, "Watch, I made the last 6-7 tackles. Just watch."
Yeah.
I was making it. People can't remember those games because obviously there wasn't huge highlighted games, but I remember how I played well during those games. And, when I played well, I'm satisfied that I gave my best.
Yeah.
I may not have had the best team at the time, but I remember those games. Obviously, when we had the all red, when we were dressed in all red, and it's not Peyton. Tom Brady?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady came in, and I even thought I was offsides because I dipped a little bit in my stance to take off. The guy so quickly and got the forced fumble sack, fumble recovery. That was huge. I mean, just huge. We beat the living out. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year, but yeah, I like it. Getting a fumble recovery touchdown. I had 2 touchdowns in one season. That was a highlight. In the beginning of the season, I was able to intercept the ball and score a touchdown. It wasn't me because I had no sack. Justin had 3 sacks that game.
Wow.
And it was like, but I had a touchdown. He was like, bro, you'll get your sacks later. You got the touchdown. And then Buffalo, playing Buffalo on my birthday, I got a sack. I got to scoop the ball and scored. I mean, what are the odds that you're going to score on your birthday? I think Penn State band came up for that game to play for me. So they was in the stands playing. I mean, apart from that, winning a couple playoff games, because that's one of the hardest things to accomplish in the league. Those are highlights. When Andy came around, we won a couple playoff games.
Yeah. So speaking of Tom Brady, what was it like competing against him, one of the best quarterbacks? And what was your thoughts when he retired? But do you see him coming back eventually?
Well, no, I don't think Tom is coming back to the game. Brutal. If you make it out of it, it's not like basketball. You can't just come back. If you do, it's cool. But the game is fast. So each year, if you come back, if you haven't been in it, it's just fast. Yeah. You're gonna be a little. But him retiring, I think he made a great decision. Obviously, the fans would love to see him come back, but it's better for him to go this way because you don't want him to come back, get hurt, get injured. He can still play the game, but it's better for him to go away from the game and see who can actually compete to even come close to what he has accomplished. I mean, what he did with the game is beyond understanding. Competing against him, I didn't realize how tall he was, until we really started playing him year in, year out. I was like, man, Tom is not just a guy, he's a tall player, and he can see, and he's very composed about how he goes about the game. Playing against Payne, obviously, it's a different ball game. Payne's
That's crazy. Yeah. So for you now, what's it been like for you now after your career? You obviously make music, Tamba tunes. And what's it been like for you making music and spend more time with your family? No.
I enjoy it. I always enjoy rhyming, telling a story, punchline or things. And I grew up on listening to the best, Jay-Z and those guys with me. But I'm a music fan. I don't care what genre. I'm just a music fan. And I built a studio in my house, so I work with people mostly from Liberia, because music in America is, I'm sad to say, it's trash. When it comes.
That's funny.
Listen to the beat, but once you start to get the words down, you're like, what?
Yeah. Oh God.
So the people back home, we're making music for people to dance, to enjoy their time. We don't want too much controversy. It's not. It's not that energy. That's not what we need in this time. But it's been very fun for me. It's been challenging. It's definitely, I gotta watch your money doing it, because take your money and laugh in your face. There's nothing you can do about that.
Nope.
So yeah, I just enjoy the whole art part, the creating part. I'm not trying to blow myself up. I don't want to be some super musician star. If I get to do it, great. But I'm enjoying being around my family. I'm enjoying being everyone. And coming from Penn State, and he said, I envy you. He said, because my daughters, I had to be on the ship close to Iraq, for years. And my daughters, I had to see a bunch of their time. Now I'm back home retired. They're on the ship. So it's nice to meet you. I envy you because you get to spend time with your children. And so that I have to kind of see it for what it really is. I get to do things that a lot of people wish they can, but they can't because of what they're doing to help us be here, and live in the kind of life living. So yeah, I'm not gonna skip this time to go and and be a rocker. If I'm an old rocker.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, fans, whoever's tuning in right now, go follow him with his music. He has some great music. Your music is awesome, lit. Man, all my fans here, they need to listen to your music because you make some great music. And speaking of awards, obviously throughout your football career, you were named two-time second-team All-Pro. You were a six-time Pro Bowler. And then, you just got recognized as number 9 on the list with African promotions with music. So what's that? What does that all mean to you? Being a former football player, getting 6 Pro Bowls, two-time second-team All-Team, and now getting rewards now on with your music being a number 9 on the list.
Again, I think it's just it accredits to what we do because it's a lot of work. Nothing comes easy. There's a lot of people who, again, don't get recognized because they were there helping craft the finished product that people get to see on Sunday. A lot of time that was put in. So, again, when I receive an award, I kind of think back to those people who were helping me. People like Henner Gracie, Hidon Gracie, who would take out their time when I go to Torrance, California to train jiu-jitsu. They would take out their time. Obviously, I have to pay for it, but they would hang out with me like we're boys. We would run the sand every morning. We would rap. People hands till and my feet work till I'm pretty much beat dead. I can't do it. People in college who we would do hit training where I basically, when I'm done training, I would drop in the locker room and I would be laid out for at least a half an hour because continuous of a work, running the sand hill, all of those things that I had to do to get where I am, as well as the music, coaches that would take time with me and they don't get no extra bonus, for it. These awards is a reflection of them, it's not really me. I'm just a finished product that you get to see on the shelf. But it's those people working with Mastercraft, one of Africa's best producer in the music business. People like that who's just, they know what they're doing and they're trying to help you have a vision and not just be some kind of person who wants to run away and think that, oh, my ego is going to take me. So it's a reflection of the people that's come into my life to, kind of shed themselves through me, that light that they have, which shines through me. So, I appreciate the awards and, we hope to continue.
So a few more things here before we let you go. And for you, what's it been like for you being an ambassador now for the Chiefs and have them bring you back as an alumni and working with the Chiefs, and now you're seeing the new wave, the new era for Chiefs football with the Patrick Mahomes, and obviously you have Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and the young players coming in. So what's that been like for you, keeping and seeing them winning Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl? So
huge. I mean, anything they do it comes back to me. Anytime the Chiefs is going well, hell, we want to talk to you about Chiefs football. For me as an ambassador, it gets me more involved with the community. We get to help the community. Chiefs ambassador it's unlike any ambassadors in the league. Like there's funds being raised all the time to at least assist any ills, any problems in the community that we feel we need to attack. Lindstrom, former Chiefs players, obviously. They've actually lived like next block.
Yeah.
He saw me walking one day, he pulled me in. But yeah, all good guys, and we meet once every month and discuss what needs to be done, and we're always volunteering. So there's a huge chat going on. Oh, this is happening. I have something coming up on the 5th. It's for those kind of, I don't know how to say it, but I don't know if you remember at Penn State, there's THON, the disability.
Oh yeah.
That is going on here in the Chiefs, but they're gonna be jumping in the water or something like that.
Oh, plunging.
Yeah, It's the whole country. So
Oh wow.
out to come and host it, and I'm more than happy to do it, and always trying to give back because again we're fortunate to live the kind of life we're living. So anything we can do as former players, we're more than happy to.
Yeah. So for you now, what's it like been? What's it been like for you sharing your story, your inspiring story, and your experiences as a football player on these platforms like these shows, podcasts, and you've been in other podcasts also. So what's it been like for you sharing your story on these platforms?
Well, okay. So sorry, my dad. I see it um to be able to at least out because people as yourself are big sharing the world, people who are making a difference or somehow they're doing something. So I don't like to keep myself enclosed. So anytime I get an opportunity to speak to anyone, I think it's another way to be able to reach out to the world and again be more encouraging and it doesn't bother me one bit. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no
But you your name because you're Indian.
Yeah. So, my name is Nithin. 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 Yeah. Can you hear me? Right here. Yeah.
Nitin.
Yeah, Nithin. Yeah. But before we get to the last two things, I want to get your thoughts real quick. I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, and we have a former Penn State player on our team, Micah Parsons. What are your thoughts on him?
Mike is obviously taking the torch and running with it. Obviously, he's he's a Jersey guy, is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Coming from Jersey, I'm telling you, he's good. I'm actually impressed that he took a whole year off and yet was drafted high and then came into the league and was able to have the success. So based on the people that's around him and who works with him, I can only see this kid becoming, one of the ambassadors for the National Football League. He's fast and he's strong and he enjoys playing the game. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, we're lucky to have him, and what a great job by Jerry Jones in the front office for drafting him, and I'm excited to see what goes on for his future. But the last two things here, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation, and he's a former NFL coach. He's now the coach for Grambling State, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe and the kids stay safe. So we'll send you the foundation.
I saw that. I tapped on it. And Hugh, I love Hugh.
Yeah.
Hugh used to put Justin and I in coverage. He would come out with two wides on both sides. But we ran a 3-4 defense. Maddie when he was over there coordinating. And he will make sure that we're in coverage and then run the ball. So he wants us to make tackles in space.
Wow.
So brilliant when it came to play calling. I love you for sure.
Yeah. And we're just happy to help him with this foundation. It's so horrible out there what we're seeing with human trafficking, and we got to stop that. And but the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
And doctors?
Yeah, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and the essential workers right now?
Where you nurses, doctors for who?
No. Would you like to say anything to them right now, like honoring them or for what they're doing for us?
I'm a little in the question, but let me say it this way: as far as the nurses and doctors that go above and beyond, helping, especially with what COVID had presented to us in the past 3 years. These people have put their lives on the line, and obviously they had to do some things that go against themselves, just so some of us can get a chance to live in this world right now the way we are living. So I applaud to them, and any people who's working on the front line, nurses and doctors, especially in Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
I can applaud to them because there's a bunch of Ukrainians here. There's a bunch of Russians here. I understand what's happening, but again, these people who are working on our behalf to make sure that again humanity is in the best shape. We just want to say thank you. I obviously want to commend them for all their hard work and everything they're doing to make sure.
Yeah, well said. And before we close this out, would you like to plug anything to our fans where they can find you on social media?
My Instagram, where I'm mostly active right now, is Tamba Tunes, the E and the Z. Tamba Tunes with a Z at the end. I have Tamba Tunes with an S.com. You can check all my musical work there. Facebook is Tamba Hali 91. So yeah, I try to stay active as much as possible. But again, I'm not a big live guy. Got too much going on. I'm usually around, kind of keep them away from social media.
Yeah, so there it is. That wraps up episode 987 with former Penn State, Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Tamba Hali. Not only he's a great football player, he makes some awesome music. Tamba Tunes, go check him out, man. This guy is one of the best out there, leading the way. Obviously, now he's an ambassador for the Chiefs also. Thank you to our fans for tuning in and asking questions to Tamba. Great questions today. First of all, thank you again for coming on, and shout out to your kids for making an appearance also on the show, and your family. And you guys keep up the great work, and we would love to have you back on the show down the line so you can meet the full team. But thank you again, man, and have a great day.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
No problem.